Have you ever been told that the land you grew up on, the road you drive every single day, suddenly isn't yours anymore? Imagine waking up one morning and seeing strangers putting up signs and barriers on a path your family has used for generations. That's exactly what happened to me when my homeowners association decided to block my farm road. But what they didn't know is that this simple dirt road held more power than they could imagine. The beginning of the trouble. It all started on a quiet morning. I was heading out to check on my cattle when I noticed something unusual. At the entrance of the farm road, there were orange cones, chains, and a big bold sign that read, "Private, HOA access only." My heart sank. This was the very road my grandfather built with his own hands. For decades, my family had used it to move tractors, haul hay, and simply drive into town. And now, out of nowhere, some group of HOA members decided to take it away. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe the workers had put the wrong sign in the wrong place. But as I got closer, I saw familiar faces. Neighbors who were part of the HOA. They weren't confused. They weren't mistaken. They were dead serious. The confrontation. I asked them politely, "Why are you blocking this road?" "This road has always been the way to my farm." One of them, a man named Richard, crossed his arms and smirked. "This is HOA land now. You can't just use it whenever you feel like it." I was stunned. HOA land? This is my family's road. We've been driving here for generations. But they wouldn't listen. They just shook their heads and told me that if I wanted to access the road, I'd need permission and possibly pay fees. Fees? For my own road? My blood boiled. The growing pressure. Over the next few days, things only got worse. The HOA didn't just put up signs. They hired workers to dig holes and install posts. They even threatened to tow any vehicle that crossed without permission. Imagine being trapped on your own land, not because of a storm or disaster, but because your neighbors decided they owned the road. I tried reasoning with them. I showed them old maps, old deeds, even photos of my grandfather driving his tractor down that same path 50 years ago. None of it mattered. The HOA insisted that the road had always been part of their property lines, and that my family had been lucky to use it for so long. Lucky? No, we weren't lucky. We were rightful. The emotional toll. I can't lie. Those days were hard. Every time I tried to drive out, I'd find chains or locks blocking me. Sometimes, HOA members would even stand there, arms crossed, like guards at a gate. I felt humiliated, trapped, angry. How could they strip me of something so basic, something that had always been mine? Worse, my farm work suffered. Trucks couldn't deliver supplies. Customers couldn't visit. Even my cattle feed was delayed. I began to fear that this road fight wasn't just about land. It was about control. The HOA wanted to squeeze me until I gave up, until I sold my farm. But here's the truth. When you push a farmer into a corner, you're not just messing with land. You're messing with history, with family, with roots that run deeper than any HOA rules. I knew I had to fight back. But how? The HOA had lawyers. They had money. They had numbers. I just had my farm, my story, and my determination. So I did the only thing I could. I called the county sheriff. The waiting game. Days felt like weeks as I waited for an answer. Some neighbors whispered that I was wasting my time. Others told me to just give up, find another way around, and avoid trouble. But giving up wasn't an option. This road wasn't just dirt. It was proof of who we were. Finally, one morning, I saw the sheriff's truck pull up near the barricade. The HOA members were already there, arms crossed, ready to fight. But little did they know, the truth was about to come out. Cliffhanger plus CTA for next section. The sheriff stepped out, badge shining in the sun, and asked a simple question. Who gave you the right to block this road? What happened next would shock everyone standing there. Backhand index pointing right want to know how the sheriff's decision completely turned the tables on the HOA? Don't miss section 2 of this story, where the law meets greed and justice finds its way back to the farm road. What happens when the law steps in and the truth finally comes out? Imagine standing face to face with people who tried to steal what was yours. only to have justice arrive at the exact right moment. That's what happened the day the sheriff walked onto my farm road and turned the entire fight upside down. The sheriff's arrival. The sheriff stepped out of his truck, calm but firm. The HOA members crowded around him, waving papers, shouting about rules and property lines. They were confident, even smug. They thought the sheriff was going to back them up. But I stood tall on the other side of that barricade, holding on to hope. My family's history, my farm survival, it all depended on what would happen next. The sheriff raised his hand and silenced the crowd. His voice was steady when he asked a question that changed everything. Who gave you the right to block this road? The HOA's defense. Richard, the same HOA member who had mocked me days earlier, stepped forward. He waved a stack of documents and declared, "This road belongs to the HOA. We've decided to close it off. He can't use it anymore without our permission." The other HOA members nodded, their faces full of pride. They thought they had won. The sheriff didn't react. He simply took the papers, flipped through them, and frowned. Then he turned to me. "Do you have any proof this road is yours?" I nodded and handed him everything I had, old maps, deeds, photographs, even a yellowed newspaper clipping of my grandfather plowing the same road in the 1960s. My hands shook as I gave it all over. This was more than evidence. It was my family's legacy, the investigation. The sheriff spent hours reviewing both sides. He spoke to county officials, checked records, and compared documents. The HOA grew restless. They whispered, they argued, they threatened, but the sheriff kept working quietly, carefully, piece by piece. Finally, as the sun began to set, he closed the files and cleared his throat. Everyone leaned in, waiting for his verdict. The shocking truth. The sheriff's words hit like thunder. "This road," he said, "does not belong to the HOA, and it does not belong to you alone either. According to county records, this road was declared public property decades ago. That means no one, absolutely no one, has the right to block it." For a moment, there was silence. You could hear the wind blowing through the trees. The HOA members froze, their smug smiles wiped away. Richard's face turned red. Public property. That meant the road wasn't just mine. It belonged to everyone. The HOA had not only tried to steal from me, but from the entire community. The HOA's collapse. The sheriff ordered the barricades removed immediately. He warned the HOA that if they ever tried to block the road again, they would face legal charges. One by one, the posts came down, the chains fell, and the signs were pulled out of ground. I watched as the road opened back up, the way it was always meant to be. My heart felt lighter than it had in weeks. The road wasn't just dirt and gravel anymore. It was freedom. The HOA members argued, shouted, even threatened lawsuits. But no one listened anymore. Their power crumbled in front of them. Neighbors who once stood with them now shook their heads in disappointment. The truth was undeniable. The emotional victory. That night, I drove down the farm road with my truck windows rolled down. The cool air brushed against my face, and for the first time in weeks, I felt peace. My grandfather's voice echoed in my memory. "Land doesn't lie. Truth always comes out." And he was right. The HOA thought they could twist rules, bend property lines, and bully me into silence. But the sheriff's declaration proved something greater. Justice doesn't play favorites. The bigger lesson. This fight wasn't just about me. It was about every farmer, every family, every hard-working person who has ever been told they don't belong on land that is rightfully theirs. It was about standing up when it feels impossible. Because here's the truth. People can build fences, they can hang signs, they can throw rules in your face, but they cannot erase history. They cannot steal what is rooted in honesty. The aftermath. The road became a symbol in our town. People who had once been quiet about HOA bullying started speaking up. Others shared their own stories of unfair treatment. And slowly, the HOA's iron grip began to weaken. As for me, my farm found its rhythm again. Trucks came in, customers returned, and life moved forward. But every time I drive down that road, I remember the fight. I remember the chains, the humiliation, and the anger. And I remember the sheriff's steady voice saying the words that changed everything. This road is public property. Final hook plus CTA. So what's the lesson here? When you're faced with injustice, never back down. The truth may take time, but it always rises, just like the sun over that farm road. Backhand index pointing right if this story inspired you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you